Alright, hello and welcome to another Why Would You Use. So today is going to be a bit of a weird one and is kind of a jumping off point for some of the other videos that are going to be coming up on the channel. So, this is going to be a collection of very beginner-friendly builds for getting started running the Law of Retribution. For those of you that are unaware, the Law of Retribution is the first raid in Warframe, and honestly, it is a pretty simple raid overall and doesn't require that much, but can be super intimidating to new players. So, hopefully, this can help break some new players kind of out of their shell and get into the raiding of the game. That said, we're going to be showing 4 builds. There is the crowd control build, which is going to be our boy Rhino here. We're going to be showing the carrier build, which is going to be Nova, and then we're going to be showing the 2 support builds, which are both on Trinity, although they are significantly different from one another. Those are the core builds to any LOR, and honestly, with just these 4 builds on a team, you don't need the full man of 8 that you can bring into a raid. You will be absolutely fine doing LOR. With that said, let's get started and show the first build, that being, of course, Rhino. Rhino is immensely powerful in LOR, offering huge, just absurdly large amounts of crowd control for what you put into him. This is, of course, no forma, very cheap, very simple. You don't need Cunning Drift if you don't have it. Wouldn't worry too much about it. Easy mod to skip out on. Maybe throw like a flow in here instead if you're looking to replace it. Overall, very easy to put together. Very good. This build in particular offers over 60 meters AoE over a 10-second stun. Just impossibly useful. And a very worthy note is the corrosive projection in this build, helping your entire team to get through some of that enemy armor, as if you're running this as a newer player, you're going to want your enemies to be as weak as possible for the guns that you have. So, to show this off, we're going to show it on these enemies. And this build also has the benefit of being able to use Rhino's arguably most powerful skill, his 2, for Iron Skin. This is incredibly powerful, and the build also includes Iron Shrapnel, so that you can refresh this at will. And also has crowd control of its own in quite a large AoE, as you can see. That being said, the bread and butter of this is you're going to be doing this a whole lot. Stuns absolutely everybody in a much larger radius than you can see here. You're going to be spamming this as Evie Trinity is going to be supporting you, and you're going to have functionally unlimited energy to do that with, and it's going to be a real bad time for all enemies involved. It doesn't really get much better crowd control than this. Rhino is a staple in LOR at any level of play, and is absolutely fantastic overall. So, not much more to be said about this. It is very simple. Although I will say that if anyone is looking to be like a first-time join on, say, the Raid Bus Discords runs and stuff like that, this is a really good beginner build, as it is a very simple roll. Moving on to Nova. Alright, so Nova. Nova is immensely useful in LOR, and not only because she's capable of carrying with her very high energy max of 450, but because she also offers so much more than that. She has speed with her wormhole, which can also be used to bypass some doors, which is fantastic just on its own. She can also slow the entire map by 75% and give you double damage on all those enemies, which is just incredibly useful. And along with that, with all that other stuff, she doesn't even lose the functionality of her 2 being a very effective nuke with even something as simple as this build on the Heck. So you can absolutely lay out the punishment with this build and just really do pretty much anything that needs to be done in the raid. I will also show this very beginner-friendly shotgun build for anyone who's interested in it. This is very good. Doesn't require any format, even though I do have one in this Heck. With that, this build does everything you could possibly be asking for. Honestly, though, with this one, the video that I'm going to be posting where I am running as the carrier as Nova is going to be much more useful to you, as the carrier position is mainly for the leader of the group and is a bit more technical, as you're going to be directing the rest of the group, and all you really need as a carrier is a high energy max so that your EV can keep you topped off more easily. So, with that, let's move on to our 3rd and 4th builds, which are both on Trinity. Alright, Trinity. Trinity is a staple. Trinity cannot be replaced without a significant investment in energy pads in LOR. That being said, we're going over that build second, and we're going to start with Budget Bless. Budget Bless is a much, much closer facsimile of the full Bless build than Budget EV is to full EV. That being said, it is not the full-on thing, but it is so close as to be nearly indistinguishable from the full build. This is very, very effective, also allowing you to give energy to yourself with your 2, and just keeping your team nigh on invincible for the entirety. With this, you're going to be giving out 72.5% damage reduction instead of the full 75, but that is honestly a very, very minor difference that your teammates are not likely to notice. So with this, the basics of this build are you're going to keep all your teammates within range of your 4, and you're going to hit 4, which will fully heal them and restore their shields and give everyone damage reduction for 20 seconds. You're going to be following them. Positioning is key, and there's really not much more to be said about this. To learn anything else about running Bless in LOR, you would have to see it in action, which, like I said, those videos of me playing each of these roles are going to be going up on the channel, and I hope you enjoy them and learn a lot from them. But moving on to the final and arguably the most important role in the entirety of the raid, that's Evie Trinity. Evie Trinity cannot realistically be replaced unless you are a far flung and ahead player. So with that, normally all Warframes want to be using corrosive projection. Having the mod points to get as close as you can to at least this is so important that instead you would use something like rejuvenation. So this build is focusing on as much range as it can get and as much power strength as it can get and as little duration as it can get. So with that, you have Transient Fortitude at rank 8, which is reasonably viable for a newer player. I don't have a rank 8 Blind Rage, but this would normally be rank 8, so that it is more feasible for a newer player to get. Quick Thinking is here for some survivability, and you're keeping yourself alive by giving yourself energy, which is what you're always doing. Vampire Leech also helps with that, with you giving your entire team and yourself excess shields, which is very, very useful. Inflating Expertise is giving you some efficiency for your startup, and also lowering your ability duration, which is desirable for this build. All this build does is find enemies that are like near teammates and hit 2 and give everyone on your team energy, but it is so vital that you do so. Not doing so will be the failure of the run, which is why this is the main build that I would say, if there's any build that you want to invest into and you want to do LOR a lot, it would absolutely be EV. Having a consistent and good EV is phenomenal, and I cannot overstate how much smoother it makes a run to have either a very good player piloting EV that knows like really good positioning for like where they want enemies to be to energy vampire them, or having one that is on full build and can just dump out just obscene amounts of energy to everyone all the time. That being said, this is absolutely functional, and there's like no reason you can't use this. But I will say, your run, you may have some hiccups, and that's fine to have some hiccups, especially if you're running a budget. But yeah, this build is the one that is definitely going to be the roughest to have on a budget in your party, but if you gotta, you gotta. Everything else is significantly closer to their fully realized versions. That being said, right here at the end, before I say goodbye, I am going to show the full version of all these builds for those of you that would like something much further forward to shoot for. But for those of you beginners, I hope this has inspired you to put something together and try and get into LOR. I do teach LOR on stream, and I hope you guys will join me for that. So let's go through these real quick. All right, first and foremost, a build that really isn't much different than the one that we already showed. This is World Stomp Rhino. This is pretty much exactly the same, with some minor improvements like a maxed out Firewalker, and of course being on the Prime and having Prime continuity available, and so on and so forth, more efficiency and the like. This is not very much different, and mostly just benefits greatly from having more armor from just being on the Prime, so that your Iron Skin is stronger in general, and is overall just minor increases to how good the budget build is. Alright, our full carrier Nova is of course Nova Prime, using Prime Flow for even more energy to make it even easier for our Eevee to keep us topped off. Along with that, using Quick Thinking for survivability, Lightning Dash to be even faster, Prime Continuity is of course more duration for us, and beyond that also has a bit of range to make your wormholes go further, which can increase the speed of the run greatly. Though, overall, this is not that much of an increase in quality over the regular Nova build, of course, although you will very much feel it, especially the Prime Flow. Alright, and for our final two builds, we of course have the fully fledged Bless, which is incredibly expensive, though very, very much worth running. This, of course, offers the full 75% damage reduction, has more efficiency, has a little bit less duration, actually, than the budget build, but is significantly more consistent in casting that, and being able to cast more is, in often cases, good for refreshing the buff on teammates whenever available, and also it includes Lightning Dash, of course, for the extra speed. And it is very important to note that I have Form Mode for Corrosive Projection, which is vital to the run. And, of course, Eevee. Like I said, this build is very, very expensive. I cannot understate how expensive this build is. A massive amount of endo goes into just 2 mods from this build. It is enormous, but it is worth it. You are going to be kicking out so much energy to your entire team. And it is also worth noting that I have sacrificed a little bit of my range with Cunning Drift in the top slot, in order to be significantly faster. So, both of those are totally fine. If you choose to use Cunning Drift, that is absolutely acceptable. But this is what I've gone with, as I very, very much value being quick. So with that, hopefully this has given you something to shoot for in the far-flung future if you're very new, and has given you something to quickly put together if you're a very experienced player who has not run LOR before. So, with that, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this. I know it's a bit different, and I will see you guys tomorrow.